Welcome to Block 11 of our Celebrating the States Block of the Month. This is our version of the Oregon block. This block requires 3 fabrics, a light, a medium, and a dark. At the end of the video, I'll also show you a version I did with fall colors. From a 3.5 inch by width of fabric strip of the light fabric, cut 4 rectangles that are 3.5 inches by 5.5 inches, 3 squares that are 3.5 inches by 3.5 inches, and 2 squares that are 2.5 inches by 2.5 inches. From a strip of fabric from the dark that's 3.5 inches by the width of fabric, cut 4 squares that are 3.5 inches by 3.5 inches, and then cut 5 squares that are 2.5 inches by 2.5 inches. From a 2.5 inch by width of fabric strip of the medium fabric, cut 8 squares that are 2.5 inches by 2.5 inches. Place the 2.5 inch medium squares on the corners of the 3.5 inch light squares and sew corner to corner. I'm going to be using the diagonal seam tape to help guide me when I'm sewing the corner to corner line, but you could also draw a line with a pencil or a friction pen and then sew right on the line. Trim the seam to a 1/4 inch, or you can sew a 1/2 inch away from the first line, cut in between the lines, and then you have spare half square triangles that you can use in another project. You have 4 of these units. Press 2 of them toward the medium fabric, and then press the other 2 towards the light fabric. Piece using 1/4 inch seam allowances. Put the squares together and make sure that the seams nest together as you send them through the machine. Piece the 3.5 inch squares of the dark on each end of this rectangle. After it's pressed, this unit will measure 12.5 inches long. With the 4 3.5 inch by 5.5 inch light rectangles right side up, place the 4 medium 2.5 inch squares on the lower center corners and the 4 dark 2.5 inch squares on the upper outer corners. All of the 2.5 inch squares are right sides down, so right sides should be together. Pin the medium squares in place, and then using the same method we used before, sew corner to corner on the dark squares first, and then sew corner to corner on the medium squares. If you're enjoying our Celebrating the States Block of the Month, we hope you will hit the like button and subscribe so that you don't miss any of the future blocks. You will have 2 units of each, and they should be a mirror image of each other. If desired, you can sew the extra lines to save the corner half square triangles, or you can trim the seams to 1/4 inch before pressing. I have a special project that I'm saving all these little half square triangles for, so I will always choose to save the corners when I can. On the corners with the medium fabrics, you are going to press 2 of them toward the medium fabric. The other 2 you will press towards the light fabric. The corners with the dark squares can all be pressed towards the dark fabric. Take a little time to press the half square triangle units while you're at the ironing board. That way you don't have to worry about it later. Sew the rectangles together. The medium triangles should nest together if you've pressed them correctly. Press the seams to one side, or alternatively, you can press the seams open if desired. Piece the dark 2.5 inch square between the light 2.5 inch squares. Press the seams to the darker fabric, or you can press them open. Piece the units made from the rectangles to opposite sides of the center unit. The side with the dark fabrics gets sewn to the center unit. The medium fabric should be on opposite ends. Once pressed, this will measure 12.5 inches long. For the 2 side pieces, press the center seam open and then press toward the corner squares. For the middle section, press towards the center. Piece the sides onto the center section. Make sure that the medium fabric is on the outside edge. Once you've sewn both of the sides on, press away from the center of the block. This block should measure 12.5 inches by 12.5 inches. Trim as necessary. I thought this block had an interesting star look in the center in the light fabric and wanted to try it with some different fabrics. I picked out some of the beautiful fall fabrics I have to change up the values. And of course, I couldn't just make one block, so I made 4 so I could really get a feel for how they would go together. I thought I wanted to make a 24 by 24 square topper, but in the end, I decided to go with a 12.5 inch by 48.5 inch runner. Now I just have to get it quilted and decide which fabric I want to use for binding. It'll be perfect for my fall table. We hope that you will hit that like button, leave a comment for us, share this video with a quilting friend, and most importantly, subscribe so that you don't miss any of the future blocks for our Celebrating the States Block the Month. Thanks for watching and happy quilting!